Hey guys, how you doing? It's Stein here. Today we're going to be talking about the NFL head coaching vacancies, and we're going to be ranking them 1 through 8. Now that there's 8 total openings, with John Harbaugh being out at the Baltimore Ravens and Mike McDaniel being out in Miami. So we're going to start here at number 8. I have the Miami Dolphins. They have the 11th overall pick in this year's draft. The pros for the head coaching vacancy there is there's no state income tax. And yes, I know that's not really that much of a pro, but I mean, hey, I live in Michigan. I don't like state income tax. I'm pretty sure wherever you guys live, if you have state income tax, you don't like it. And to be honest, there's not that many pros of being Miami's head coach, so we're going to list it there. It's also South Florida, you got nice weather year round. I live in Michigan, so, don't have to deal with the snow down there. That's nice. Um, that's about it for the pros. The cons is they are the 28th in the league in salary cap room, not 28th in the league in salary cap like spent, but room like space. They do not have that much space. They've got a bad quarterback situation with Tua. They need to figure that out. And honestly, the job requires the most to do, like out of all the openings. Salary cap issues. They have 28-year-old Tua Tagovailoa, who's got a $56.4 million cap hit, $99.2 million dead cap hit. So, like, if they decided to cut him or trade him, that would cost that much against their cap. 18.53% of the cap he's accounted for. 32-year-old Tyreek Hill, you got, who's $51.9 million cap hit. $28.3 million dead cap hit. He's accounting for 17.06% of the cap. You got 30-year-old Bradley Chubb, $31.2 million cap hit. I like Bradley Chubb, but I mean, 8.5 sacks. You're paying, like I said, $31 million cap hit, and they don't really have a lot of cap room, so you got to figure out something to do, something to make money. He's got a $23.9 million dead cap hit. He's accounting for 10.25% of the cap. You got 30-year-old Minkah Fitzpatrick, $18.9 million cap hit and a $13 million dead cap hit, accounting for about 6.2% of the cap. And then they're still paying Jalen Ramsey that they traded to the Pittsburgh. That's also going to be on their 2026 books as well. They traded him in June 30th. He has a $20.1 million cap hit, and he's accounting for 6.86% of their cap. And he's not even on their team. He didn't play for them last year, and he's not playing for them next year. And he's still going to be accounting for them on their cap. And then they're still paying Teron Armstead, who retired April 5th. It's $10.7 million cap hit, 3.53% of the cap. So honestly, they have the most work to do out of all the head coaching openings. So that's why the pros are only that it's no state income tax and it's in South Florida. That's about it. I mean, you got Troy Aikman working on as a consultant there in Miami, trying to hire the new head coach. They just hired a new GM. I got literally right before I went on here, so don't even know the name of the guy, but I got to look into it. Most of us don't even really know who a lot of the GM guys who are up for jobs. A lot of us know who the coaching gigs are, but I'll have to look into who they hired. It's kind of hard to hear those guys' names and determine what they actually did, because they're always in the front offices. There's a lot of guys in front office. So but yeah, Miami Dolphins are the worst head coaching vacancy coming up. At number 7, I have the Arizona Cardinals. They have the 3rd overall pick in this year's draft. Pros for the Arizona Cardinals are the 3rd overall pick. You have GM Monty Austin-Fortstein, who I think is a pretty good GM. I don't think he's one of the top tier ones, but I do think that he's a solid GM. That can also be a con as well, because if you're trying to bring in a big name or a big coach or a top tier guy, some of those guys they want to bring in their own GMs. So that will be a little tough if you're trying to bring in one of those bigger name guys, but we'll see. They also have a really good receiving core, also young as well, with Trey McBride, Marvin Harrison Jr., and Michael Wilson. You have other talented players like Buda Baker, Josh Sweat, Paris Johnson Jr., Walter Nolan, Will Johnson. So you got pieces to build around. The cons are just that it's a bad QB situation. Don't know what's going on with Kyler. Don't know if he's going to be on the team next year. Don't know if he's going to be starting next year. We'll see. Don't know if they're going to take a quarterback third overall. It's kind of going to be like Mendoza 1, Dante Moore possibly 2, and then where do you go after that? It's not. There's really kind of a drop off. Do you go Ty Simpson like that high? Like we're gonna. I guess we're gonna find out. It's a lot of questions there. They've got a bad defense, even though they've got pieces. Like their defense just played bad, and that was even with a defensive coach in Jonathan Gannon. So I don't know why. Like maybe just a new scheme. If you get a better defensive coordinator in there, but we'll see. They, like I said, they've got pieces. Fortunately, another con is that they're only 14th in the league in salary cap space. That's not like too big of a con. They're kind of just middle of the road, but they're not. I wouldn't put it in the pros category because they're not like top 5 in cap space. So, and then their salary cap issues. Pretty much the only big one that I saw was 29-year-old Kyler Murray, who has a $53.3 million cap hit next year and a $54.7 million dead cap hit, accounting for 17.5% of the cap. So even if you don't have him on your team next year, you're not starting him next year. That's what he's going to account for on your cap. So they got to figure that out. I don't know if Ty Simpson should go that high. Again, I don't think, unless the Jets pass on Dante Moore, which I don't know if that'll happen because they need to figure out their quarterback situation as well. But we shall see. So that's the Arizona Cardinals there at 7. At number 6, I have the Cleveland Browns. They have the 6th and the 28th overall picks from Jacksonville. I put an asterisk next to the 28th because we don't know how the playoffs are going to play out, but currently that is what Jacksonville's pick is 28th. Their pros are they have Myles Garrett, obviously, Defensive Player of the Year this year, broke the sack record. He's just a freak, monster, dominant, just Hall of Fame tight end, Hall of Fame edge rusher. He's just a beast. You can build around him as defensive, just period. Good defense overall. They got the rookie Carson Schwessinger. You had Judkins, who's coming off a dislocated ankle and fractured fibula. And then you have Harold Fannin Jr. So, they have, some young offensive players and then also some good defensive players as well, and that defense was good as well. If you can somehow possibly... I saw that they're thinking about Jim Schwartz as head coach. I don't think that's a good idea. As you can see, Lions fan, don't think it's a good idea. But I even said Browns never make the good decisions, or the right decisions. So I guess it fits. And the pros also is that they have 2 first-round picks this year. Honestly, that was probably a big pro for me. That and Myles Garrett. That's probably why they're ranked above the Cardinals and Dolphins, because after that, their cons are honestly horrible ownership with Jimmy Haslam. Never really been able to figure out anything. You have the GM Andrew Berry there, who acquired Deshaun Watson, which is literally the worst trade in NFL history. Don't know why he's still there. You got a questionable QB situation. Are you going to start Watson, Gabriel, Shador next year? I mean, you're probably going to start Watson because he's on track to play next year, and you paid him that much money. So, I mean, I feel like you got to, right? But I mean, you got the young guys in Gabriel and Sanders. So, how does that help their development? It's just a very confusing situation. And they're also 26th in the league in salary cap space. They don't have that much room. Their salary cap issues are 31-year-old Deshaun Watson, who has a $80.7 million cap hit. And you ready for this one? They wanted to trade or release him, so you can't even get out of this. A $131.2 million dead cap hit It's just insane. It would just wipe out your entire, like, most of your salary cap. You can't do anything. He's accounting for 26.53% of the cap. Didn't even play last year. Um, it's just, what an awful situation that is. Got 30-year-old David Njoku, who's going to be a free agent this year. I put that in there because it's a void year, so you're still actually paying him. He's going to have a $24.3 million cap hit, $24.3 million dead cap hit, 8% of the cap. Like I said, void year. Same thing with Wyatt Teller and Joel Bitonio. 32-year-old Wyatt Teller, $10.4 million cap hit, $19.6 million dead cap hit, 3.42% of cap. Also void year. And Joel Bitonio, $8.6 million cap hit, $23.5 million dead cap hit, and 2.82% of cap. Also void year. So all these guys can leave in free agency this year, and they're still going to be on the books for the Browns 2026 payroll, like, and salary cap. So the Browns won't have that money, like, available to spend. It's bad situation there. I don't know who they're going to get. It's not going to be a John Harbaugh. John Harbaugh ain't going to want to go there. He ain't going to want to deal with that. So we shall see. At number 5, I have the Atlanta Falcons. A lot of people have them higher up on their lists. I'm not that high on them. I think it's just because, like, they don't have a first-round pick this year. Maybe I value first-round picks too much. I'm not even valuing them super high. But I get that you did draft James Pierce Jr. last year, and you had Jalen Walker as well. Both really good guys. They look like they could be potential, like, stars in this league. We'll see, though. Their pros are they have plenty of talent on both sides of the ball. Obviously, you got Bijan, Drake London, Kyle Pitts, Jalen Walker, James Pierce Jr., as I mentioned, A.J. Terrell, Jesse Bates. And they also have a good offensive line as well with, like, Jake Matthews, Chris Lindstrom, who's one of the best guards in the league. And they also play in one of the easiest divisions currently in football. But people say, oh, it's the easiest division, it's the easiest division. Those divisions change. Like, they can change in the course of, like, maybe not a year, but 2 years. Like, if you're hiring a head coach, like, you want him to be there for longer than 2-3 years. Your division can easily become the hardest division in football in 3 years. Like, we've seen it. Like, even the NFC North last year was just like a buzzsaw. Now it's still, like, is a buzzsaw, but it's kind of dwindled down. It's not the best division in football as it was considered last year. The cons for the Falcons, you have a questionable QB situation. This is, like, also where I have the Falcons, like, knocked down, because you have Penix, who's been injury prone throughout his whole career, and even including college as well. Kirk is 38, and they they have an out on his contract this year, but, like, do you take that out, like, with Penix being so injury prone? It's a question, and definitely a situation that they're going to have to figure out this year. And there's no benefit, and they also don't have a benefit of building around a young QB, because even if they do have the out on Kirk Cousins' contract, some of the money will still be on the books, so they don't have the benefit of teams that draft a QB young and they're not paying that QB a lot of money, and then they can spend money elsewhere and build around that young QB, so that way that QB can kind of come up gradually and you can spend the money elsewhere. The problem was they spent money on another quarterback, big money. Like, wasn't top 10 money, but it was still, significant money to Kirk Cousins. And then you drafted Michael Penix. So it's like, what was the point of that? Like, you're not helping Michael Penix at all. You're not helping Kirk at all. Like, it was just, you're not helping the team at all. It was just a bad situation, bad idea. I thought it was a horrible idea when it happened. A lot of people did. Not saying, like, oh, I was ahead of it. No, a lot of people thought it was a bad idea. I thought it was a bad idea as well. Turns out it was a bad idea. It didn't play out right. They all got fired. And they're also 16th in salary cap space. So, like I said, like, with the Cardinals, yes, sorry, I was trying to think of the team. Cardinals as well. It's not like a, like, horrible situation, but it's not a pro as well. It's not like a con, but it's not a pro. You have some wiggle room there, but you're kind of like middle of the pack. It's not like, again, you're not top 10, top 5 in salary cap room. Their salary cap issues are, like I said, 38-year-old Kirk Cousins, who's got a $24.6 million cap hit and a $35 million dead cap hit, accounting for 8.08% of the cap. He could be released or traded if it's a pre-June 1st release or trade. This is where I had to like get technical with it and type it all out so we all hear it all technically. But if it's a pre-June 1st release or trade, all of the dead cap remaining on his contract, that's that $35 million dead cap hit, including guaranteed salary, accelerates into the current year. That's 2026. If it's a post-June 1st release or trade, the remaining dead cap on the contract is allowed to split across the current year, 2026, and the following year, 2027. Dead cap that is already that is directly associated with the current year, plus all future guaranteed salary, remains as current year dead cap, while the remaining future year dead cap is allocated to the following season. You confused yet? Because I am. Like, they always try to make it confusing. You know, the more you know about football, the less you know. So that's the Falcons. They're going to have to figure out that QB situation. But other than that, they have a lot of talent around the ball. And they did give up their first-round pick to the Rams this year. Rams, what a great situation they're in. I mean, they're, in the playoffs, they had 12 wins. 12 wins. They have 2 first-round picks this year. One of them's 13th overall. So, I mean, James Pierce Jr. was drafted at 26 last year, and now the Atlanta Falcons picks was 13. So, it's kind of, was it worth it? We'll see. Number 4, I have the Tennessee Titans. I have them this high because I'm a believer in Cam Ward. They have the 4th overall pick in this year's draft. Pros are 4th overall pick. They've also got the most cap space in the league, so they can go spend and they can go put pieces around Cam. They can go build up the defense. They can build up the offensive line. Pretty much any free agent they want, they're probably going to be able to afford them. Not all of them, obviously, but they have the most cap space, so they can go spend big money. Cam Ward last year was obviously last year's number 1 pick, so it's not like he was a couple years. He's just last year's number 1 overall pick. Like, people seem to just forget about that and just give up on people immediately. Like, he still has plenty of talent, and he showed lots of flashes throughout the year, especially during the second half of the year. He's got young wide receivers in Alec Iomanner and Chimere Dike. I mean, those guys aren't like top-end guys. They're probably like 2s, 3s. Chimere Dike is more of like a gadget, like a specialist type guy, like more of a returner. And then you got Alec Iomanner, who I hope turns into a stud. I mean, he's got the frame for it. He's looking good. It was his first year. He looked good for his first year. I'm also reason I hope he is. I have him in dynasties, so selfish reasons. But I do think that they need a stud wide receiver to help Cam Ward out. I also have their tight end Chig Okonkwo on my dynasty team, so I hope Chig works out. I like Chig, so hopefully that one works out as well. But we should see. And there's also no state income tax in Tennessee, so that's nice. The cons is there's not too much talent on the roster outside of like the guys I had mentioned, and like I said, those guys aren't like blow you away with like, oh wow, this guy's gonna be a future superstar. You don't know. They're not sure bets at all. Far from it. And it's the same ownership that fired Mike Vrabel, who, as you've seen, he's done great things in New England, and we all knew that was a bad idea. Like, when Mike Vrabel was fired, I was like, why? Like, it's so stupid. It was a dumb idea. Salary cap issues, pretty much the only one is 32-year-old Calvin Ridley. He's got a $26.8 million cap hit, $13 million dead cap hit, and he's accounting for 8.79% of the cap. He could be released. His contract has an out before the 2026 season. So we shall see who the Tennessee Titans hire. I thought at the beginning of the year was going to be like, or like middle of the year is going to be like Joe Brady, because I remember that was like a hot name. Or like when Brian Callahan got fired, I thought Joe Brady would probably be the next coach. But then I think he's cooled down a lot. He was like a hot name like last year, saying like, oh, probably next year will be like the year. So, but I don't know. We'll see. Um, At number 3, I have the Las Vegas Raiders. They have the first overall pick this year. That's also obviously my number 1 pro. You got first overall pick, probably taking Fernando Mendoza. That's obviously the big selling point right there. And also another big selling point is they have the second most cap space in the league, which is massive. You can go get that, young quarterback, and then you can go spend around him, build up around him, protect him, because they did have a bad offensive line. So they are going to need to go spend in free agency, especially on that offensive line, and especially because that offensive line was not able to protect Ashton Genty, who is on my pro list. They have young stars in Genty and Bowers. And you also have Max Crosby, who might want out, but either way, whether he wants, if he's going to be stay there in Las Vegas, he's a defensive stud, and if he's going to leave, then he's massive trade asset. So either way, that's a plus. Have Max Crosby there, but hopefully, like, you would want Max Crosby to stay because he is a game changer on the defense. The cons are obviously that possible reports that Max Crosby may want out. But like I said, he would fetch a lot of draft capital, and they have a bad offensive line, as I mentioned, so they're going to have to fix that in free agency as well. And I think they need, like, some pass catchers outside of Brock Bowers. Again, I like Dante Thornton. He's 6'5", runs like a 4.3. Freak. Trey Tucker was good last year. Also, like Dante Thornton, I'm, dynasty owner. Oops, sorry. Selfish reasons again. But salary cap issues, pretty much the only big one is 36-year-old Geno Smith, $26.5 million cap hit, $18.5 million dead cap hit, and accounting for 8.71% of the cap. He's got a possible out in 2027. That's not that bad because you draft a young QB and then you get out of it next year, and you'll probably still have some money left over for salary cap to still build around that young QB. So that one's not too bad. And at number 2, we have the New York Giants. They have the 5th overall pick. Their pros are they obviously have 5th overall pick. You got young stars in Jackson Dart, Camp Scattaboo. You know what? Dynasty owner as well. Camp Scattaboo, he's my fucking boy. You got obviously Malik Neighbors, he's a stud. And then you got an elite tackle in Andrew Thomas. You also have defensive guys and defensive stars and Dexter Lawrence. Sorry, couldn't speak. Dexter Lawrence and Brian Burns, and then Abdul Carter as well, who was drafted last year with the 3rd overall pick. He looks like he could be a stud, but he kind of needs to, stop sleeping. Stop sleeping when during team meetings, dude. New York market's massive, so but it also could be a con. If you win in New York, you probably won't have to ever pay for a meal there ever. But you lose in New York, you're going to get your ass ran out of town real fast. You're going to be plastered all over New York Times newspapers saying, I don't know, they got the dumbest, craziest headlines. Cons, 20th in the 20th in league in cap space, so they're towards the bottom half of the league. Not towards the bottom, they are in the bottom half of the league, but they obviously you got like 12 other teams that got less cap space than them. So it's not like you don't have complete salary cap. You're not in salary cap hell like the Browns or something like that. But you do have some issues you got to work around and figure out because obviously you're paying a lot of guys. Honestly, I was looking at their salary cap issues. They don't really have any immediate problems. I think they're just paying a lot of people, which is fine. They got a solid overall team, and I think it was just all the injuries last year just caught up to them. And I think a new coach can come in there like John Harbaugh, and I think they can turn that around and be like a Chicago Bears this year. I think that's what the Ben Johnson did for the Bears this year. Caleb Williams, second-year quarterback. They had young stars around him, young wide receiver like Rome Odunze, DJ Moore. Malik Neighbors, Wandale Robinson, like Cam Scadaboo. You got guys like in New York. I think that New York could be a Chicago Bears team this like the Chicago Bears this year, next year, if they make the right hire. But we will see. At number one, that obviously. Oh, I forgot the big con as well about the Giants is GM Joe Shane's returning. So that is the problem. If like you're hiring John Harbaugh, he probably doesn't want Joe Shane in there. He hasn't really proven much, even though like Joe Shane, like people are like giving him a hard time. If you think about it, he has drafted well. He's drafted Jackson Dart, Malik Neighbors, Abdul Carter. Like he's drafted pretty well. Like so everyone who's been giving him a hard time, like at least maybe that's just the scouting department. I don't know, but he done a solid job, I'd say, drafting. A lot of people were saying, "Oh, pick Shadeur, pick Shadeur." He picked Jackson Dart, and that looked to work out pretty well. Um, and now obviously we're gonna go on to number one. That leaves the Baltimore Ravens. They've got the 14th overall pick. This is obviously the most secure organization, the most structured organization. They don't mess around. They're very detail oriented. They do everything right, which massive pro. You got Lamar Jackson, 2-time MVP, biggest pro on this entire list of all the teams, like period, even included first overall. Period. It's Lamar is the best pro out of all the teams. You got a talented roster all around. Like I don't even need to list off all the guys to you. You got Kyle Hamilton, Zay Flowers, Justin Matabuke. You got a lot of like Marlon Humphrey. You name Malachi Starks, like Mark Andrews, Isaiah Likely, Derrick Henry. How could I forget Derrick Henry? Of course. You got a good offensive line always. Like you have a really good talented roster. This was literally the Super Bowl favorite before this year. They were my Super Bowl pick, like heading into this season, and so you have a really. They just, I don't know what happened to that team. Oh, Roquan Smith, duh. How could I forget Roquan? Sorry, just names popping in my head. But you just got like just like a talented like Super Bowl caliber roster that can compete for playoffs and the Super Bowl right away with the right head coach and the right leadership. You also have great ownership and great front office, like I mentioned as well. Great GM and Eric DaCosta. Followed Ozzie. Was it Ozzie News or Ozzie? No, you know who I'm talking about. Or I'm thinking Ozzie or like the Cardinals GM Monty Ossenfort. You know what I'm saying? Is it Ozzie Newsome? I'm pretty sure it's Ozzie Newsome. But anyway, you got Eric DaCosta, the GM currently, great GM, ready to compete for the playoffs and, like I said, possibly a Super Bowl immediately. Cons, not many. I couldn't really find too many. Great, like I said, just overall that organization from top to bottom, built properly, including the roster. And like I said, the only con I could really find is that they're 17th in the league in salary cap space, but that is also one of those where they're just kind of like right at the bottom half, and they're like right at the bottom half cutoff, and they're not. They're spending because they pay a lot of good players. There's no salary cap issues that none that I could find. Like they pay good players and they still have a lot of wiggle room. So that tells you that they can still make some moves this offseason. They can still go out and get a guy. They can they can move some money around as well, and they'll be able to make some moves possibly in free agency. So not too many cons for them, if any. That's clearly the best job opening right now in football. So, yeah, we'll see who they all hire. It should be interesting hiring process, and we'll see. Hopefully all these guys get their guy. It's going to be nothing but optimism for all the fan bases, and either optimism or despair, going forward just based off of opening press conferences. We've seen a lot of opening press conferences go bad and then it turns out good, and a lot go great and it turns out bad. Like look at Liam Cohen last year. Duval, and people were clowning on him and making fun of him for it. And look, they're in the playoffs and they won the NFC or the AFC South. Sorry, like one of the best teams in the AFC possibly could win a Super Bowl this year. His first year, he had Dan Campbell. Everyone was making fun of him. No kneecaps, man. We're gonna bite your kneecap off. And we're gonna take a hunk out of you. But it worked, and he built a winner. Obviously, it didn't really work out too well this year. I think that he just runs them into a wall too much at practice, and then they just get hurt in games too easily. Like just destroys them at practice probably. And then I mean you had I literally just had him. Oh, obviously, of course, Sirianni, who people were clowning on him for just what is this? How this guy seems dumb, like in his opening press conference. But won a Super Bowl last year, and they're back in the playoffs this year. Could win another one back to back. So, we'll see. It's never you never know you hired the right guy or the wrong guy until a couple years later. So we shall see and see what plays out. But appreciate you guys for watching. Make sure you leave a like, comment, subscribe, and I'll talk to you guys later. Have a good one.